Welcome to this more in-depth and in-detail explanation of the Computer 2.0 game. Here we are, and 2.0 is a noticeable improvement over 1.0, which had many flaws in it and was not entirely playable, actually. So this one is much more playable and much harder, in fact. Add a little strategy to it, and let's get right into it. So, alright, I'm not going to bore you with the basics of the dice, being able to move you around, and moving in this direction around the board and stuff. But what I am going to tell you about are the new features of the game, starting with that. So, now, an HP Omen upper end computer like this can have two CPUs attached to it, and the CPUs are right here. And two CPUs allow you to have two tasks on it running at the same time. So for example, if I get an i3 and an i3 put out on an upper end Omen, then I can have two tasks on this computer. So like Sublime Text and display drivers right over here, I can attach those two things running simultaneously on the upper end Omen. So that's one of the new features of the game. And also, you can see this little CPU affinity indicator in the lower right corner of the task card. Well, that is the affinity indicator, and that tells you which CPU or which hardware will benefit this task card and make it shorter. So for example, if you see CPU down there, a better quality CPU will make the task run faster. So like this i3 will not do anything because it says 0 turn bonus. This i5, however, will actually put a 1 turn bonus on the task card, and it will become a 2 turn task. So that's one of the new features that were added in Computer 2.0. And of course, you get the amount of points listed in the bottom left corner of the task card when you complete it. However, if you don't complete it, you won't get that task point value. Now, before it used to be you wouldn't get the points at all, and you would lose a turn. You would lose your next turn. Now, we thought that was a bit too harsh on the players, so we decided to just loosen it up to just not getting the points, and that's how it works now. Alright, so let's get into a more in-depth look at the computers. So, the entry-level computer, the Dell Inspiron here, is sure entry-level because it can only do tasks in 5 turns, and it costs a very low amount of money, which is $3,000. Also, almost all computers and almost all hardware have sale prices, but the entry-level ones do not. So this is an entry-level computer, and you can see it's blank on the back because it's too crummy, and you don't get any money when you sell it. So yes. And now here's the Acer Aspire, the mid-range computer. It costs $6,000, can do tasks in 4 turns, or a moderate 4 turns. And it actually, you can get a sale price of $3,000 on it, half of the original price, which is $6,000. And finally, the HP Omen is the big one, the mega one, and can do tasks in 3 turns, and has the capability of having 2 CPUs and 2 tasks going at the same time, as I just mentioned. So the cost is $9,000, however, which is not too little, and the sale price is $5,000. So you could get some good money off of selling an Omen. Alright, so let's go over the hardware. So you can see hardware has sale prices as well, but not the lower end one. It's the same one. See, it says sale price $1,000. But this i3, however, is blank because it's too crummy to have a sale price. So that's the sale price stuff, and you can see on each one there is a little 1 turn bonus indicator. 1 turn, 2 turn, 3 turn, or 0 turn, depending on what grade of hardware you have. We also have RAM sticks. We have 8 gigabytes, DDR4, they're all DDR4. So we have 4 of each, excluding the 8 gigabytes because they were too low end. You can see we have 32s here. And finally, we have GPUs, the NVIDIA RTX 3080, 3070, and 3060. Good, right there. And I decided to simulate supply constraints right now by only having two i9s in the hardware stack, which is really not that much, but it kind of matches up with the current supply shortages. So you might be wondering what these things are. Well, these are the task trackers, because back in the days of Computer 1.0, you had to get a notebook, a pen, and you had to start writing down a log of every single thing that was happening in the game, and that was really annoying, including tasks. Like you had to, every turn you had to write, this thing ticks down, this thing ticks down, and it was really annoying. Well, we've solved that problem in Computer 2.0 with task tickers. There are 10 here, and whenever you get a task, let's say you get Sublime Text, it takes 3 turns, you just get one of these task tickers, flip it to the number of turns the task takes, and put it on there. Every turn, turn it down 1 number, so then it's going to go down to 2, and then it's going to go down to 1, and then when it gets to 0, then it means you finish the task. That is a much more efficient way of tracking tasks than the old way. Now, here is the Computer 2.0 score sheet where you can keep track of your money. You can set little colored pointers here according to your player color, and you don't have to write anything down that way. The same thing with the points. You can put player icons here or player thing from this bag. This is the bag of all the player markers. Just put that on the score sheet. So, here is the rounds around the board tracker. It's a bit complicated because it used to be 10 rounds, see, originally. But that took way too long. So we shortened it to 5 rounds for a long game and 3 rounds for a short game. See, these rounds go around pretty slowly. So I've also made some changes to the spaces, although there were still some of the old 1.0 spaces. So remember the deadly return all hardware space. I've noticed that that's a bit too harsh on players as well, so I just changed it to for one computer only. And then we also have some new spaces like Malware Attacks OS, pay 1K for anyone. That wasn't there before. You might not remember this. And then we have Get Free Down Inspiron, which is kind of crummy sometimes, but you don't need it. And then we have More RAM Needed, upgrade to 32. Or you play a game on your PC, upgraded to RTX 3070. So that's another new space. And on the note of upgrades and 3070s, I've added a new feature to some of these task cards where, see, for example, here, for run memory tests, you need 16 gigabytes of RAM and up only. Anything below that, you just simply cannot take the task. Same thing with this, video conversion. You can't have anything lower than an RTX 3070. So if you have a 3060, you just simply won't be able to take the task. So those are the 2 task cards that require certain amounts of hardware. I've added a little twist to that. And now, with more hardware, the previous game doesn't have quite as much hardware in computers. You can have up to 4 computers going with tasks simultaneously, which is really good because that's just going to get you more points to get to win the game, basically. Because before, what won you the game was money. And that seemed pretty stupid, so we changed it to points winning you the game. So at the end, after 3 or 5 rounds, depending on whether you're doing a short or a long game, the player with the most points at the moment would win the game. Now the tiebreaker is the player with the most money at the moment would win the game. But the money is not the main decider, it's just the tiebreaker. And that is just about all we have to talk about here for the game of Computer 2.0, a more perfected version of the computer building game. It's kind of an engine game, actually, where you build stuff, you get points with it, and you win the game with that. It's much more fun than the previous one. And that concludes that in-depth and in-detail tour of the game of Computer 2.0. Goodbye.